All right. Okay, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome, people from all over the world. Some of you have completed your day. Some of you are getting launched. Some of you are in the midst. I am beginning things. So let's finish up our 21 laws of leadership. This is the 21st law. Some of you, you know what? I should make a certificate to send to everyone. You know, a certificate of completion that says, I have completed the 21 laws. So, you know, maybe that would be something everybody was interested in. But anyway, make yourself a certificate in Word and print it. And I'll sign it if you send it to me. I have not, because of swim practice, I have not been able to hear some of Dimitri and Katrin's broadcasts regarding your leadership and what they've covered. But the bits I've heard and what I've read are really good. I liked in the last Zoom broadcast by Dimitri what he said about self-awareness. It's a personal responsibility. I like that. It's an inside-out movement, and it starts with control of your thoughts. That's so true. And that corresponds to what we talked about. What is happening? What are okay, are we doing, these are like special effects. So the people listening don't know what I'm talking about or why I interrupted my thoughts. That's fine. But it starts with control of your thoughts. And when you think, this is another one I like, when you think someone or something is responsible for your solution, that's the first problem you need to solve. Good stuff. So we have personal accountability. And Covey also, for those of you who had a chance to be in Leeds or at the DeVal seminar with our booking buddies, we know that change is an inside-out job. So I am all over that stuff. But today, it's kind of fitting and proper that Maxwell should end his 21 laws with the most profound and deep, and that's the law of legacy. Legacy, L-E-G-A-C-Y, legacy. That which remains behind. If you need a definition, it's something transmitted by or received from a predecessor or an ancestor from the past. So what has gone before, what is left behind. So my question to you, I've got questions today, and I want you to think. And if you're wrapping up your day, it's good because you can reflect, but at least write down these questions. If you're starting your day, and this is sort of a Monday and you're getting geared up to have a great week, hitting the phones or going out and having meetings, your mentality may not be in this reflection mode. So just save these questions for later. But we do want to talk about legacy. This is different, but it ties into purpose. We've talked about purpose before, and that the clearer your purpose is, the more effective you can be. Same thing with legacy. People will summarize your life at the end of your life in one sentence. So the good news is you can pick that now. You don't have to wait until you die to figure out what your legacy will be. We can pick it today. So what do you want to, so one way of looking at this is what do you want people to say about you at the end of your life? You know, I know from listening to Maxwell, I had a chance to meet him at one of the conferences a couple of years ago, and he spoke to the group at some length about his legacy. And initially, his legacy statement was, I want to add value to leaders who add value to leaders. And then he sort of developed it, he said, over the years, because this isn't something just like purpose. You don't just think of it and go, oh, okay, here it is, there's my purpose. Oh, my mission, here you go, I got it. It's something you have to kind of ponder. But he said this, and this is a little bit deeper but understandable. He said, I want to make a difference with people who want to make a difference, doing something that makes a difference at a time that makes a difference. I thought, well, that's kind of cool. And I can remember it. So I'll repeat it. You don't have to write it down. Just think about it. I want to make a difference with people who want to make a difference, doing something that makes a difference at a time that makes a difference. So that is something that John at age 70 something has really thought through and polished over the years. But it would be really cool if you guys in your 20s, 30s, maybe a few of you are in your 40s or 50s, for you to think about legacy now and spend some time with that. Because you can speak with your life more so than your words. You know, how many of you have known somebody that their words, or they said one thing, but their actions were completely different? All right. Many of you, some of you are not participating, and I chastise you for that. But speak with your life, not with your words. You want to be congruent. So the question is, and I pose this to our booking buddies, what message are you sending with your life? What message are you sending with your life? That life's a big party? Woohoo! That's what it's about. Yeah. You know, is that what, if that's what your life's about, then that's cool. But you may want to rethink that. I'd encourage that. Maxwell said this. He said, too often leaders put their energy into organizations and structures and systems or other lifeless objects. But he said, only people live on after we're gone. Everything else is temporary. Only people live on. So his notion of what a good legacy is how he is impacting people who are impacting other people. That may not resonate with you. That's fine. I would encourage you to think about people, because you can, I know people who have amassed huge fortunes, all kinds of stuff, and they feel a little hollow on the inside at the end of the day, at the end of their life, because they're going, is this all there is? Isn't there more? You know? And so you see people that are, some of you guys that are in your 20s and just getting started, you look at people who are acquiring things, and there's nothing wrong with things, right? But if you build your whole life on things, then you have an issue. You know, if I'm always about Bible stuff, and it says this, it says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. So it's like, first things first. If it's wealth first, then you might want to rethink that. So get yourself square with long-term, I would say, spiritual things, and then many other things will fall in order. All right, so let's talk a little bit about and give you these questions. Some of you are ready to write things down. You're like, I thought you were going to give us questions. Well, I am, and here you go. To me, the one more comment, a legacy can really enhance your future. Okay, a legacy can enhance your future, because if you have that in the back of your mind, then that affects your current actions today. If you don't have a legacy or any kind of long-term vision for what you're about and what you want to pass on, then every day just comes and goes. They all flow together, and then you wake up and you're 55 years old and you go, wow, what happened? You know, I don't even know. Wow, my life went by. So start thinking about it now. I'm thankful that people made me think about mission and purpose and legacy when I was in my 20s, because I didn't want to think about that. My whole mission was Friday night, or when's the next gig with the band? Woohoo, rock and roll. You know, that was it. Very short-term thinking. So my legacy was immature, you might say, at that time. And if I just identified your thoughts, then sorry, I've offended. But I've changed. Okay, so your accomplished goals are your legacy, which live on. And the one image I want to help you think about today that really resonates with me is you all have taken, you remember when you were a kid and you were out throwing rocks into a pond. Boop. And I'm not talking about skipping rocks. That's a different metaphor. I'm talking about just throwing a rock in a pond, and when it hits, boop, you see that ripple effect that comes out. I think of all our lives, especially for me, that ripple effect is, I'm the rock that's thrown into the pond. And what kind of ripple effect am I having? What kind of legacy am I leaving? I don't know how much longer I'll live. I just had a friend who's my age pass, and and that's really a sobering thought, because you're thinking, well, I'll just live forever. Well, maybe not. When you're older like me, you start thinking a little bit more about what pond have you been thrown into, and what kind of ripple has been left behind. So anyway, have you thought about goals in terms of your legacy? Probably not. But here's some of my goals that become part of my legacy. I have goals for my family, for my kids. If a few of you have children, what is your legacy for them? What's going to live on through them, in them, as you move forward? Okay. I want my kids to be kind. I want my kids to contribute. Obviously, I want my kids to be successful and happy and have families that also have, you know, another rock that hits the pond, another ripple from them, the ripple that makes a ripple that makes a ripple. I want them to, I want to point them to God, and I want them to connect that way. So you have to kind of think for you. And again, I know it's strange, Monday morning, ready to go to work. We're talking about this stuff, but it's important to think about. So having a broad picture of the effect you want to have on the world, that ripple, will help you pinpoint the actions that you need to take now to achieve that. Okay? So here's some questions. Number one, how do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered? See, thinking about legacy can be super overwhelming. So if you really want to think about it, I'm just going to give you a few questions that kind of break it down. All right, so here's the first one. How do you want to be remembered? When you're gone, do you want to be remembered as courageous or caring or daring or encouraging or helpful? You know, even as far as LGFG, what kind of legacy are you all building at the company? That would be a cool thing to talk about. What's our corporate legacy? Whoa, that's good stuff. Here's another thought. How do you want to inspire change in the world? Or if you're writing for yourself, how do I want to inspire change in the world? And sometimes when you're thinking this big, people get embarrassed. They start thinking, well, wait a minute, who am I to have dreams like this? I'm not that important. I can't change the world. Maybe not, but you can, again, you can be a pebble, a rock, or a boulder, and you can have a different ripple effect that comes from you. We are all impacting each other. No one is just an island unto him or herself. It's impossible. We're always impacting others. So the deal with this first question is your legacy doesn't have to be a huge concept. You just focus on what matters to you. So I would do kind of like we did before when we were together. I would just write down everything you think of that has an exciting effect on you. So you might think, I want people to remember how patient I was with others. Or I want my industry to remember my presence as groundbreaking. I was a pioneer. And another person I know told me this. He said, I wanted to lower the rates of suicide by showing people it's possible to overcome depression. You're like, whoa, that's different. Yeah, everybody has it's totally personal. So you don't judge your answers. You just kind of let it flow and write things down. Okay, here's another question. This is what I'd call number 2 in breaking it down. And it's different. What events would inspire that legacy? What events would inspire my legacy? What would have to occur in order for you to have the impact you want to have? Right? Some of it's simple. If you want to inspire your family or people you love to be healthy, that means you need to set the example and be healthy, right? Or you're going to be one of those people that says one thing and does another and no one pays attention to you, right? So if you want to revolutionize the global bespoke executive clothing market, what kind of event, what would have to happen in order to have that impact? A business redesign? I don't know. You guys may be doing that now. We don't even know it. It's good. Here's another question. This is number 3. I think I have 4, just in case you like to number things. What actions would I have to take to create that event? What actions would I have to take to create that event? What actions would it take to create your legacy? That makes sense. Start small and think about that. So if you're, health is one area a lot of people think about, especially as you get older, you start having health issues. So a little action step, what action would you have to create? It might be eating a whole foods diet or more fruits and vegetables and protein, fish. You may have to begin working out, even though right now you're working hard. You got to figure out a way to work out a few times a week. Some of you, it may be the action that you need to take to create the event is you need to change your attitude. You need to take an inside out approach, knowing that everything, you're responsible for everything. Your thoughts, your attitudes, your choices, right? Sounds like what we talked about at the beginning. So number 4, and finally, this is an interesting one too, because I feel like the fastest way to learn something is to find someone who already has done what you want or what you're shooting for, and they're a role model for you. So the question is this: what legacy leavers do you admire? What people do you admire for their legacy? Okay. And the follow-up question to that, besides who can you admire for legacy? Like, who's somebody I wouldn't mind being like? That's a good question. Easier maybe. What actions did those people take that affect you today? I thought of one just this morning, randomly, don't know why. And I thought of the one originally when I was thinking through these notes. The one I thought of randomly today is going to be different. But when I was a teenager in my rebellious mode, my first recording, the first album I ever bought, in the old days you bought albums. They were like the vinyl. So the first vinyl album I ever bought was Alice Cooper, which drove my mom crazy. Some of you are like, Alice Cooper, I don't even know who that is. Well, Google him. But he was pre-Marilyn Manson, he was at the time a nasty guy. And my mom had conniption fits because, you will never buy another one of his records, and so immediately I had my friends go out and buy other records of his. And so I'm like, hey, I didn't buy them. They were gifts. But here's why I'm bringing up Alice Cooper. He has a tremendous legacy, and he is not who he seems to be. He is I met with one of his managers, and he said the guy's in church every Sunday, and he has done tremendous work for the community. He even started out in Phoenix, Arizona, a place called the School of Rock, which is a school to help young people who are completely, hopelessly on drugs rehabilitate through learning music. It's kind of cool. And so he's got this persona of someone that's, just a reprobate, even at his current age. But then he's got the flip side, which is this legacy he's left behind. It's really positive. Okay. Beside the rock scene, my father is a person that comes to mind. And if you think about your parents, this may hold true too. My father was a professor, and he was always making us curious about new things. He always wanted to teach us. I remember him when I was a kid, young memories of him we'd be sitting there watching cartoons or something on TV, and he'd pick us up, put me on his head, and he would go outside the house and go, you can't learn anything sitting there watching TV. Let's go outside. And so we would go be curious about this. And that impacted me. And I'm extremely curious. I want to know about everything all the time. He was a great teacher. I have become a reasonably successful teacher and trainer. And guess what? That ripple effect, my son is now teaching organic chemistry. My daughter's teaching English in St. Louis. So he has left a legacy of curiosity and learning, which I think is kind of fun and cool. Otherwise you get stale. So as you think about your listing things, what comes to mind, don't worry, you don't have to do all of them. This is just a base to kind of draw from. But think about some of the people that have impacted you, okay? So that's pretty much what I wanted to tell you today. It might be cool to get with groups. Get with yourself, think. And I know this is a difficult, if you're like 21 and going, dude, I just want to sell suits. I'm like, all right, I like that. That is a worthy goal. But if you really want to think big picture and have a focus that will move you forward, think about legacy. A book I always thought was impactful was Rick Warren's book called The Purpose-Driven Life. And the first line of the first chapter, I remember reading it. It hit me in the face because the opening thesis was right there. The author said, "It's not about me." It's like, oh, his legacy is that it's not about him. And most of us think, well, it's all about me. You know, why not? So my last thought, aside from the metaphor of the rock in the pond, is I just want to be for me, I want to be a river, not a reservoir. I shared this with the Australian team last night. I would much rather, instead of being a receptacle where things just come in and I just either get more and more knowledge or more and more stuff or more and more whatever it is, I would rather be a river where I receive things and it flows through me and I give it to other people. I pass it on, whether it's knowledge or wealth or comments, even conversations that you have can affect other people for a long time. I mean, I run into people all the time. I got a call from a guy I hadn't talked to in 10 years. And he said, "I remember what you taught us and here's what you said." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I think I did say that once." But that was just a conversation. So, I mean, we're having all these, think about rocks being thrown in ponds. We're having an effect on everyone. We're all impacting each other. So if you're consciously, intentionally thinking about legacy, you will be more impactful. So I am what survives me. So put your thinking cap on or talk it up among your group. And I wish you well on that endeavor. We're going to go into freestyling leadership topics starting next week. So we won't be locked into a book yet. We might pick another one to go through. But any comments from the gallery? I know this is a challenging topic to just hit. But anybody have? Let me kind of see if anybody's raising hands or desperately trying to get to the unmute button. No, there's no fights over that. Good. All right. Yoni's always good for a comment, but not today. Okay. Good. Well, listen, I want everybody to have a great week. Think, if you can, when you have some time, and reflect on the law of legacy, and you will be more impacting as you move through the river of life. Okay? So I'm going to sign off. Have a great week, and we will talk again next time. Carry on.